Tim, thank you. 29 hours later, Clemson students still going strong. After an African-American banner was defaced Monday on campus, a sit-in started at Sikes Hall.
That's where the students upset about what they call a racially insensitive climate are having to shut down their protest or face arrest.
Well, just a short time ago, Clemson administrators met with students here and they gave them this. This is their outline for how they plan to address the grievances and concerns that students here have expressed.
All of this started this week after an ugly incident where students put a bunch of bananas on a banner promoting African American history.
They've made it clear that they do want this to be the last of this, but that depends on them. They have to give us something. They have to give us what we asked for.
Hey, Sharon.
Hey, what's up, Lee? How you doing?
So we want to talk to you a little bit about the Sikes sit-in because we know you participated in that.
Yep.
First question, can you talk about or describe the climate of Clemson's campus leading up to the Sikes sit-in?
Yeah. So like the events and stuff that like happened. Yeah. So basically, I mean, the 2014-15 academic year was pretty tense with the lack of critical response to the death of Tucker Hibbs.
Carolina couple is suing Clemson University and a fraternity this morning over the death of their son. Sophomore fraternity pledge Tucker Hibbs was found dead last September at the edge of a lake. His parents are still seeking answers.
Right. That fraternity that literally hazed him to death is pretty much like competition to come back. Like, they're really close, and that's ridiculous. That wasn't even 5 whole years ago yet. The Christmas party, right, where, you know, you had IFC and CPC fraternity and sorority members mocking black culture and gang culture, and a pretty dangerous attempt to, you know, have fun at the expense of blackness, which is, I mean, pretty insensitive, you know, at the least.
Clemson University once again in the spotlight over allegations of misconduct involving students.
The Clemson chapter of a national fraternity is suspended and many of their officers have resigned after photos from a gang-themed party from the weekend went viral.
You had us doing a die-in demonstration to bring awareness to the decision on the Mike Brown case on Bowman Field, and not even 100 yards away, I don't know who timed it or who scheduled it, but you had students trying to break some Guinness World Record for most consecutive high fives on a college campus. And it was, I mean, that was kind of disrespectful, it was kind of insensitive, you know what I mean? Like, it's just stuff like that continued to build and build and build to create this kind of thick racial tension on campus. And I mean, prior to the Sikes sit-in, the straw that broke the camel's back was the bananas incident, where we found a bunch of bananas on a random Monday morning hanging from one of the banners outlining like the African American history and heritage of Fort Hill. And those banners are tall. Like, I'm 6'2", I'm a volleyball player, I have hops, I still cannot get up there. Like, you have to have like a ladder. Like, that's intentional. That's not something you just kind of do. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't just happen, you know. And I mean, the lack of response over the years from administration just consistently.
So what message were the students trying to convey through the Sikes sit-in, and do you think that message was heard or received?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it was received, but it was damn sure heard. That's for sure. They had no choice but to hear us out there.
We will be here until we get something we can work with.
Well, back here live, students are continuing to try to figure out what they plan to do. As you can see behind me, they're still talking about that. I have heard words of risk of arrest, that sort of thing that they're talking about. Administrators have told them, again, if they do not leave Sikes Hall, the building inside, then they will risk being arrested.
I mean, constant news coverage for a week and a half straight. I mean, community news, local news, state news, national news. You know, I read a post about the Sikes sit-in in the Washington Post. You know, just like I said, you know, holding them accountable for, you know, ensuring student safety and student comfort on campus, and that goes for all students, right? When you have about 10% of your undergraduate population, you know, as multicultural students or multicultural identifying students, we don't want to be somewhere where we don't feel safe, where we feel constantly disrespected, where we feel lesser than, right? And so that's the message we were trying to convey.
A lot of emotional students who have just been told to vacate Sikes Hall on the Clemson University campus. Some of the students did not, and we are told that they may have been arrested. In fact, one of the students, identified as Ian Allen, tweeted that earlier, saying simply 3 words, "I'm being arrested." Now, the students are gathering outside. As I mentioned, they do not know what happened to their peer and colleague. Within the last couple of minutes, police have told them to leave. The campus wanted them to leave this building. There have been a sit-in for 2 days over the campus culture. Many people upset at the lack or alleged lack of inclusiveness for students who are non-white. Now, as a result of that, students took over Sikes Hall on the Clemson University campus, and they staged sit-ins. Within the last hour, the president released a letter citing some of their concerns, telling them that they are addressing those needs and that they were to leave immediately. That has not happened. Some of the students left, some stayed behind, and they were last seen talking to police officers. Now, we are staying on the campus right now because we have not seen the students walk out with the police. We are in front of 2 university police cars waiting for that to happen, but a lot of nervous, anxious, and very concerned students out here tonight waiting to see what happened to some of the students that they identify as the Clemson Five.
It was like 10% of your student population does not feel at home at a place that you're telling us to embrace our Clemson family. We don't feel like part of the Clemson family. Fix it. Y'all are the ones with the power to do so. Y'all have the resources to say so, the access, the impact, the influence to do so. So do it. Y'all making hundreds of thousands of dollars anyway. You might as well do something.
Did you have a lot of support from your peers, your professors, your parents in your decision to participate in the Sikes sit-in?
Okay, that was a lot of groups. My peers, I mean, y'all saw the pictures, y'all saw the tweets, you know. My peers and my colleagues and my personal Clemson family were extremely supportive. There's a little bit of backlash there and there. There are always exceptions, you know, to every rule. People always pick both sides of the coin. And not choosing a side is choosing a side, you know. My professors of color were really supportive. That was cool. My supervisors, some were more understanding than others. You know, you read case studies about things like the Sikes sit-in. You know, you study things like the Sikes sit-in. So that they were a little bit more supportive. These other supervisors came around eventually when they figured out like what I was really trying to do. The community was super supportive. We had some anonymous donors, some random Clemson community members, people who don't attend the school, never attended the school, their kids don't attend the school, nothing. They just live in Clemson, SC, and saw what was going on and decided to help us out. So I was really, really surprised because I've never seen the Clemson community in action. You know, I'd always seen the campus or the university or the undergrads or the grads. But
what was your personal reason for joining the protest?
I was a special kind of fed up. You know, I was a sophomore at the sit-in, so that 2014-15 academic year prior was my freshman year, and I was so excited about coming to Clemson. I had changed my mind last minute in high school. Clemson was a school that really showed interest in me academically, and you know, when they accepted me, even though Winthrop was my dream school or had been my dream school for like 4 years, I still, you know, took the leap of faith and came here, and then saw that my community was being treated the way it was. You know, so I was a special kind of fed up. I'd also kind of started gaining this reputation for doing things, you know, in the community here. You know, people start to hear about Sherman. You know, that kind of started like prior to the sit-in too. So I kind of felt obligated. I kind of felt obligated to continue the fight that my mentors before me, you know, had been continuing before they graduated.
Carolyn Michael, that student, told me it all depends on when the administration who actually works in this building decides to send a final plan.
I kind of felt like the torch was being passed down, you know. So that was the kind of duality behind my reasoning, you know, for joining and organizing and, you know, participating so heavily.
What changes have you seen on campus since the Sikes sit-in, and what changes do you feel still need to be made?
In specific relation to the Sikes sit-in, we kind of had the Coalition of Concerned Students list of grievances and demands, and kind of tweaked those a little bit to better suit the purpose of the sit-in. And I can say that they've made some significant progress on a few of the demands. Like,
your sit-in has made a difference.
Barbara Hamburg, a 30-year employee at Clemson, shared some wisdom about what should be done next.
It is now time to move to the next phase. Do not think your work was in vain, because it wasn't.
Working on better diversity training for faculty. They kind of lit a fire under student government to be more, let's say, just in their distribution of funding for student orgs and multicultural student orgs. The hiring of postdocs and tenure track faculty of color has increased and is continuing to increase. So is minority undergrad enrollment. You know, those numbers are looking good. I think it's past due time to get a Gantt Center building, you know, for our multicultural center. If you look at other similar schools, and I mean similar in size and similar in national prominence, they have centers that are true centers, like the Hendricks Student Center is a center. Mm-hmm. They have centers like that for their version of the Gantt Multicultural Center. It used to be in a place where foot traffic was heavy, and it moved to a bigger location with more office space, which is cool and all, but nobody just casually walks by Bracket 300. It has to be an intentional decision. And part of the appeal of a multicultural center is that passive decision making, where it's like you pass by while something's going on and you want to learn more, right? And that kind of connects you with the different, you know, diverse members of our family. So I think that that's one that they could absolutely move way quicker on. I think they still have to work on their consistent and clear communication with the student body. The fact that, you know, I still have to report, you know, the progress from the sit-in, which happened 3 years ago, almost to the date now, is ridiculous. They should be doing that every semester, at the very least. You know.
I saw today something I haven't seen in 20 plus years of being at Clemson. I saw people who are committed to making a difference. You know,
obviously, that was a huge moment in Clemson history. It's not something that y'all are just going to sweep under the rug and hope that people forget about once I finally graduate, right? That's not going to happen. People are going to continue to talk about this. People are going to know about this. It's going to happen. So you might as well just acknowledge it.
So what exactly was the Christmas party? Can you go into detail on what happened?
Well, I mean, news coverage, it was heavy on it. CNN did a few pieces on it, if I remember correctly. But I mean, in essence, what is really necessary to know about it was about how totally off it was, right? You're talking about a Christmas party with people wearing red and yellow bandanas, black bandanas, throwing up ridiculous gang signs, you know, their Tupac and Biggie shirts and gold chains and fake gold teeth, and you know, you had a few kids, you know, and they had just got a fresh tan, right? You know what I mean? It's just totally insensitive, a total mockery of everything that they think black culture is, but calling it gang culture, right? It's like hip hop culture is not gang culture. Those aren't the same thing. They're not one and the same.
I was really shocked.
Shocked and horrified. That's how some Clemson students say they felt when they saw these photos posted on social media sites over the weekend. Ebony Clemens showed us some of the posts on her news feed, pictures of fellow students at a so-called off-campus Christmas party, a reference to the gang known as the Crips.
For somebody to kind of make a mockery out of something that other people, even though it's not positive, take very serious is dangerous.
Our students need to show a higher level of conduct and concern regarding the impact that their actions and words and deeds have on others.
Why would you want to throw a Christmas party anyway? You know what I'm saying? We only 3 hours from Orangeburg, you know, we're only 2 hours from Atlanta, or 2 hours from Charlotte. That's not the smartest move. You know, we're not far away from anywhere where these people really exist, where they really kill people every day. So one, you're being ridiculous. Two, you're being reckless. And you're endangering people's lives, because if the wrong people see this, we're the age of social media now. Everybody's on social media. It's going to spread. You know, people really could have came up here and lost their lives because I wanted to do that instead of just wearing some damn red and green and Santa hats. You know? So that was what the outrage over the Christmas party was.
Looking at social media, it's clear there is an issue on the Clemson campus.
You can't solve a problem sweeping it under the rug. And you can't solve a problem without talking about it.
We talked to students who say the issues all stem from racial posts on social media and the feelings that follow.
And just seeing some posts on Instagram, Facebook, and even Yik Yak, the dreaded Yik Yak on campus, just seeing people's response to how it made them feel. And I know for me personally, it was really offensive.
Okay, and also last question, the Yik Yak incident, because we've heard about it, but we don't really know exactly what happened yet.
Yeah, so the Yik Yak incident, I mean, there were multiple, right, where, I mean, Yik Yak was like the anonymous version of geographical Twitter, right? Like there was a Clemson University Yik Yak, because if you were in the bounds of the campus, those were the yaks that you saw, right? But it were completely anonymous. But they had an upvote, downvote system that's kind of like liking and disliking. And and it just keeps a running total. So like if you get 3 upvotes and 2 downvotes, you have a score of 1, right? If you ever reach a score of -5, Yik Yak deletes your thing, right? So just keep that in mind. So the Yik Yak incident, I think this was like day 2 or day 3. And of course, at that time, you know, Yik Yak was just a thing people just scrolled through, like kind of like Twitter. And there was a post of somebody threatening to bring their gun out to clear out the squatters on the steps of Sikes, right? Amongst many other very racist remarks that were up there. But that one stuck around for a while. And it was long enough for people to like screenshot it, spread it, share it, and enough people to see it to, you know, start a story about it. And the one thing that I kept thinking was, how the hell did that not get 5 downvotes? All these people saw it and are downvoting, and it still never reached a score of -5. How? That means it had to keep getting upvotes too, right? Or people weren't downvoting it. Somebody threatening to bring their gun out on campus, and y'all aren't trying to get that out of here. That's crazy. 1. 2, that's a legal death threat. You know what I'm saying? That's creating public hazard, public danger, you know, whatever that is. It's just like what the shows say all the time, like if you shout fire in a movie theater, you know what I'm saying? You're creating clear and present danger or whatever. It's the same thing. You know, you had 150, 200 people out at Sikes at any one time in the middle of the day. Somebody brings a gun out, that's going to cause a panic. People are going to get hurt. You know what I mean? But I think that it's so interesting that they, even though Yik Yak is an anonymous app, they found out who it was. He lost his job in CCIT, and I'm pretty sure he got expelled from the university. We still don't know who put the bananas on the banner in front of Fort Hill. You know what I mean? I get like lives, priorities, whatever. But if you had those resources when there were no life-threatening situations, why didn't we use them?
Right.
Just gotta think. But yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for your time.
No problem. Thank you for asking.
Help. This is great. Yes.
Cool.
Want us to be remembered. I want what we're fighting for to have changed. For them to say, campus is the way it is now because of students, not because of the Clemson 5, because of all of these students, these faculty and staff that are out here supporting us. That's why it changed.
Students say they'll continue the protest until they can fully digest the statement released by the university president, Jim Clements, and they'll decide as a group whether to end the sit-in.
Those of us who do know what happened and experienced it or even heard about it have a duty to continue to keep it relevant. Because the truth of the matter is, the issues that led up to the sit-in have not ended. So the feelings and the sentiments, the treatment, those are still quite relevant to probably everybody in this room at some point, daily, weekly, you know what I mean, in their experience. And so if the sentiment is still relevant, we have an onus to make sure this remains relevant in telling it